are back together again. It's ever so nice to be here on a very calm day. It is cloudy, quite damp, but at least it's not raining. Well, not yet anyway. Here we are, English Addict is back with you, and yes, we are live from the birthplace of the English language, which just happens to be England. Buenos dias, everyone. Here we are again, back once more with some more fun. Apologies for being slightly late. I might tell you why that is, although I probably won't. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? Are you feeling happy on this Sunday? Yes, we have made it all the way to Sunday once again. Don't forget, please give me a like to let me know that you care about me and my work here on YouTube. Because let's face it, if I left it to YouTube to help me, I might be waiting forever. So I am relying on you. Please help me by giving me a lovely like. That would be ever so nice. As I mentioned, we have made it all the way to the end of another weekend, and I suppose we could say it is also the end of the week, and we are also approaching a new month as well. It's Sunday. I'm already noticing technical problems. For some reason, the camera that Mr. Steve will be using is not working, and I'm a little worried. To say the least, I am slightly concerned. How are you on this Sunday? I will try to sort that out in a few moments, because at the moment we don't have any camera for Mr. Steve. It keeps breaking down, and I don't know why. I have no idea why. We will find out if it's working in around about 15 minutes time. I will give you the warning right now that Mr. Steve is on his way. So yes, Mr. Steve will be here in around about 15 minutes. For those wondering, he will be right here on YouTube telling us all about his amazing week and what is going on in the world of Mr. Steve. So all of that coming very soon as well. Hello also to the live chat. Oh, we have the live chat working. Hello, live chat. How nice to see you here. A lot of people joining in already. We have Vitas. We also have Luis Mendez is here today. Beatrice. We will be talking about Beatrice in a few moments from now. Maria is here as well. We also have Hossein. I don't know where you're watching at the moment, but hello anyway. It's nice to see you here live. We are live now at 19 minutes past 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. As I mentioned a few moments ago, we are approaching the end of January. February is on the horizon. It's only a short month, which is good really, because I don't like February. To be honest with you, I don't really like January very much either. I don't like February. I don't know why. It still feels as if winter is hanging around, to be honest. So I'm not a big fan of February. I do like March. I have to say, as soon as March arrives, I cheer up and I feel much better about everything. But January and February, I don't like them very much at all. Hello, Duong Hung English. Hello to you. Also, we have Glenda. Hello, Glenda. I like your name, by the way. It sounds very British. And we did have an actress called Glenda Jackson. So her name was Glenda. Also, we have, Pedro Belmont is here as well. Hello, Pedro. Amelia. We also have, now this is confusing. We have Emilio Lopez. Very nice to see you back also. Palmyra is here, and I suppose I should ask, how is your ankle? Is it feeling better? I hope you are on the mend. Tom. Tom Rocks. Very nice to see you here as well. Mapia is here. And that is it for now. Thank you very much for joining me. It's lovely to be with you live on YouTube. For those who want to follow the live captions, there are live captions. They might not be completely accurate, but they are there anyway if you want to use the live captions. We had a very busy week, by the way, Mr. Steve and myself. We were both away, and I decided to have a look around a different part of the UK. In fact, I was in a place that I've never been to before. Isn't it exciting when you travel somewhere to a place that you've never been to before? Well, guess what? This week I went to a place that I've never been to before, but now I have. I have been there. This week we went to Liverpool. Would you like to have a look around Liverpool? Because Liverpool is well known for many things. There it was, a short video that I filmed last week because I was in Liverpool, a place that I've never been to before. But now I can safely say that I have been to Liverpool, and it's great. It's a very interesting place. Lots of nice things to see. Of course, it is right by a very famous river called the Mersey. So a lot of people talk about the Mersey Canal or the Mersey River, and the whole area is named Merseyside. So when they talk about Merseyside, they are talking about all of the areas that are near to the Mersey. We will show that again a little bit later on, don't worry, just in case you missed it, we will show it again. Very nice to see Giovanni here today. Hello, Giovanni. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's always nice to see you here. Don't forget to give me a lovely like as well. If you like this, please give me a like as well. Here is your 5-minute warning. Mr. Steve will be with us in around about 5 minutes from now, if I can get his camera to work, because for some reason it stopped working. And now I have to work out why Mr. Steve's camera isn't working. And to be honest with you, it is Steve's fault, because he wanted to look better on camera. So I've changed the camera and now it doesn't work properly. So I'm using a different camera and it doesn't work properly. So I'm going to try and put that right before Mr. Steve comes on and joins us today. So all of that coming up. We have a lot of things to talk about. We are talking about supermarkets. Going to the supermarket. Is there a supermarket near your house? Is there a place where you can go to that is very convenient to buy your things? We are talking all about that in a few minutes. Mr. Steve will be with us, and yes, we will be talking to Mr. Steve in a few moments from now. English Addict is with you today. I hope you are feeling good. And yes, I have managed to fix Mr. Steve's camera. So Mr. Steve will be joining us in a couple of minutes from now. Did you like that? I was playing in the snow there. We haven't had any snow. The weather this winter, I have to say, the weather this winter has been a little bit crazy, to say the least. We've had a lot of rain, then we had some freezing weather, and then we had a little bit of snow, but not much. And then it went warm, and next week, apparently, it's going to be freezing cold again. So we might actually get some real winter weather next week. So we will see what happens. Today we're looking at supermarkets. We are also looking at words, phrases, slang that we don't really use anymore. However, some people do use occasionally. So lots of slang words, slang terms from the past. Some of them you might recognise and some of them you might not recognise. So all of that coming up later on as well. Here in the UK, by the way, we've been debating a couple of things. Now, this is not official, but one or two people have started talking about bringing back certain things. Two things, in fact. Both of them could be rather unpleasant for those involved. More about that later on. Steve will be here. I am going to go over to Mr. Steve in a moment, But first, we'll have another break and then we will see what Mr. Steve is doing today. But first of all, would you like to see some sheep? You would? Okay, let's all take a look. Oh dear, I love those sheep so much. They are rather cute, don't you think? He is coming. Are you ready, everyone? He's on his way. The man who everyone loves to watch, talk about, and sometimes even chase around the front garden without any clothes on. Mr. Steve is on his way. Are you ready for him? There he is. Freaking out. Oh, it's okay, Steve. You're not on yet. It's okay. So there he is, look, freaking out on the screen. Just to give you an idea of the sort of person Mr. Steve is. For those who don't know him, you are in for such a treat, because here he is right now. Ooh.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Duncan. Hello, wonderful viewers from across the globe and across the universe. I'm sure we've got people watching us in planets all over the solar system, Mr. Duncan, and far and wide.
Good.
Well, I'm in a different shirt today, Mr. Duncan. I'm in my sort of prison shirt, as I like to call it. Looks like I'm behind bars.
I like this shirt. You look like a newsstand. You know, when they used to put the newspapers behind a thing that people could grab very easily. You look like one of those. Anyway, let's join together now. There we are. We are now together on screen. I don't know why. I think I've decided that Mr. Steve is really that colour. Because I've tried everything to change the colour of Mr. Steve's face. And I can't change it. So I'm starting to think, Steve, that might be your actual colour.
Yes, maybe I've got high blood pressure, Mr. Duncan.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I can't really see it. So what do other people think? Do I look a funny colour on your screens at home and your tablets and your laptops?
Well, this is your natural colour now, because I've tried to get the camera to reproduce the most natural colour. Because the other week you were complaining that you look strange on camera, but now I'm using my lovely big DSLR camera, which is professional quality. So whatever you look like right now, that is definitely what you look like, Steve.
It's up to the viewers.
Yes.
Do I look a strange colour or do I look normal?
Well, if it's not suitable this time, we will just have to put a plastic bag over your head or something, I guess. The live chat, by the way, is very busy.
It is very busy. People are saying they remember this shirt from earlier live chat years ago. I look like I'm in Honolulu in Hawaii, says Giovanni Rivetti. We were in Liverpool this week. Do you know that? What? Giovanni was in Liverpool?
Giovanni was in Liverpool.
You were in Liverpool this week
I can't believe it.
and you didn't come and say hello.
Why didn't you say hello? Why didn't you find us? Why didn't you hunt us down?
Yes, because Mr. Duncan did a live stream.
I didn't do a live stream
Oh,
outside.
no, you didn't know.
No, I did not. I did one in the hotel room because the weather was dreadful. So we went to Liverpool and the weather was absolutely dreadful. We had one of the worst storms ever. And
Storm something.
And we were very near to the Jocelyn. So we had Jocelyn. And there was a lot of Jocelyn. Do you like that? So Jocelyn means to be moved around in a violent way. Jostle. You push and you shove. You jostle. And it was Storm Jocelyn.
But
and
it's
then,
all
that's... And then, of course, we had Aisha as well. Was that Storm Aisha as well? So lots of storms.
Jocelyn is a name as well, isn't it? It's somebody's first name, isn't
That's it? Yes. Well, the spelling is completely different as well.
I know. You were playing on words there, Mr. Duncan.
It was my little pun, as they say. Hello to the live chat. Oh, we have Olga here as well. Lena is here. We'll make America great again. I get the feeling that that Lena might be interested in a certain contest that is taking place later this year, I think.
Well, one thing's for certain, it'll certainly be interesting if he gets back into power.
Well, did you know, Steve, this year, half of the population of this planet is going to vote for a new government.
Right.
So I don't think this has happened for a long time. So it's something like 4 or 5 billion people will be voting this year for another or a new government. So they will all be going to vote for whoever they like to rule their country. And apparently it's half the planet, including here, of course, in the UK, because we will be going to the polls to vote. And at the moment, we don't know when it will be. Some people seem to think it's going to be July, but I think it will be later than that, because I think they will have the election here in the UK at the same time as the election in the United States. And that will cause lots of lovely confusion, and no one will know what is going on. So I think that is more likely to happen. So I think we might end up with an election taking place here at the same time as the one that will be taking place in the United States. And I think both of them will be very eventful indeed. I think so. So that should be interesting. Thank you very much for that. No, Mr. Duncan, I meant that Mr. Duncan and All Alive chat, perhaps Duncan didn't tell you that the video in the port was hilarious with lots of laughs. When I come to England, I will let you know for sure. Oh, yes, because I did make a video near the port.
Oh.
In the wind. And it was dreadful. It was so dreadful. I had to hold onto the camera sometimes because it almost got blown away by the wind. So
no,
yes,
I haven't seen it, Giovanni. I haven't actually seen that.
You know what happens sometimes? Sometimes I actually forget things that I've done. And last week was such a busy week. There were so many things that I did last week that I've actually forgotten about already. So we did just have a look at the views around Liverpool. Another thing I want to mention, Steve, is this week there was something taking place that I did not know about, but I did eventually find out all about. There was a secret rendezvous taking place.
A what, Mr. Duncan? A secret rendezvous?
A secret rendezvous.
A secret meeting?
Yes. So a rendezvous was taking place in Argentina. It was a different type of rendezvous. So it wasn't the Paris rendezvous. It was the Argentina rendezvous. And there you can see Sandra, Beatrice, Marcia, and also Claudia as well. As in, what's cooking, Claudia? That Claudia. So can I say a big hello to Sandra, Beatrice, Marcia, and also Claudia, because they were together. They had a little rendezvous this week. And there you can see once again, there is Claudia, Marcia, and Beatrice as well. And it looks as if some food was also eaten as well. Oh my goodness. That is a lot of salad. That's all I can say. That looks rather nice, actually. So there is Beatrice and Marcia having a very nice meal. So once again, a big shout out, a big hello to Sandra, Beatrice, Marcia, and Claudia. Isn't that wonderful? And thank you very much, Beatrice, for your lovely message as well that you sent to me, saying that everything that they do and all of the friends that she's made is all because of us, Mr. Steve. It's all because of us. We are responsible for it.
What a lovely picture. And it's lovely to see people who watch you regularly meeting up, really meeting as a result of your live streams. And lots of people, as we know, are friends, not just within while we're doing live streams, but also outside. People are contacting each other. We had the Paris meet with those other groups that we know that people meet up, and here's another one where people from one continent all manage to meet each other. How far is it from Brazil to Argentina, I wonder? I think it's quite a long way. I don't know.
They're next to each other. They're actually on the same landmass.
Are they?
South America.
Oh, yes, but I meant how far in distance.
Oh.
I know they're on the same continent, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I suppose it depends.
My geography is reasonably good.
I suppose. Well, I don't know. I suppose it depends where they were actually in location. So which part of Brazil and what part of Argentina. I think Beatrice is in Sao Paulo. I might be wrong.
Buenos Aires.
Did I say Sao Paulo? I'm getting my Brazils and Argentinas mixed up.
So maybe Beatrice can tell us, or anybody else who's on. I haven't seen. Is Marcia on today? And Sandra, Claudia. How far did you have to travel? And how long did it take you to get to see Beatrice in Buenos Aires? We would like to know. By the way, Giovanni says that he wants to hold your tripod next time.
That's a very good. Thank you for the offer. You might be surprised to find out how many people have made that offer to me over the years. Quite a few people have offered to hold my tripod for me.
I'll tell you something, Giovanni. Mr. Duncan has a lot of tripods.
I do.
I often joke that I can't get into Mr. Duncan's studio because there are so many tripods. I did once actually count them all, and I think there were 17. Yeah. 17 tripods.
I think there's more now.
I think there's more now. That was a few years ago. So there's a lot of tripods to hold. And I can tell you it's a trip hazard coming into Mr. Duncan's studio. There's wires and cables everywhere.
Yeah.
And tripods.
So in between Argentina and Brazil there is Uruguay. You don't hear much about Uruguay, do you?
We don't.
No. I bet the people in Uruguay hear a lot about it, but you don't really hear. Sorry. I don't know what's going on with my throat. I think my voice box is falling to pieces.
Yeah, so we just want to know. Yes, we know, we do know, of course, that Beatrice, that you're in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Mr. Duncan just had a little mental breakdown there. But
really?
What we want to know is how far. He's not the only one. How far is it from where Marcia lives, for example, or Claudia or Sandra, to get to Buenos Aires.
Yes.
That's what we wanted. Oh, here we go. 4 hours flying. Wow.
That's a long
Rosa.
time.
Sao Paulo to Buenos Aires is 2,200 kilometres or 4 hours. So, yes, it's a long way. But did she come on the plane, or did she come on a bus, or did she come on a train? We don't know because she's busy cooking. But, yes, it would be... well, wouldn't it be nice if we could go there one day, Mr. Duncan? We might need an armed guard, but we would go.
I would just be worried about being kidnapped. Maybe a van will draw up and a couple of people will get out and throw us into the back and then hold us hostage. But the thing I'm worried about is that no one will want to pay any ransom for us.
True. True, that's right. But they probably would assume, you see, that being a YouTuber, you're worth millions, and they would kidnap you. And
that would be their mistake, by the way, because they would get nothing.
Yes, exactly. 5 hours flying. Yeah, so exactly. They would just because you're a YouTube star. Would you call yourself a YouTube star?
I am not. I am a YouTube failure. I'm now classed well below. So you have all of the big YouTubers, and then you go down and down and down. Keep going down, by the way, and down, and then you go through to the basement of YouTube, and then you go down even further. Then you have to get some special drilling equipment to drill even deeper, and then you might go a little bit further down. But then, of course, you might have to wear special breathing apparatus because you'll be going down so low that the air pressure and everything will be so weird. And right down there, where light never reaches, that's me, down there in the dark.
Is it a bit like when you take one of those robotic submarines down to 5 miles down to the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah.
You see all these very strange creatures that you don't normally see before.
You see
species
jellyfish
that you've never thought could possibly exist.
Yeah, you see jellyfish and white fish with no eyes and things like that. So that's where I am. So on the YouTube scale of stardom, I'm way down there with all of the plankton.
That's a good suggestion. Giovanni has suggested that we create a sort of community of English learners online away from these live streams.
Yes.
It would be amazing to chat and share things. You mean like a kind of WhatsApp group? Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, that is definitely something worth considering, because we did create one, didn't we, for the Paris trip?
Yes. Well, what I have to remember, and what I have to also say now, is WhatsApp is a very strange thing, because if I create a WhatsApp group and there are too many people on there, then no one will be able to communicate. So normally when you have a WhatsApp group, normally the group is very small, normally about 7 or 8 people at the most. So this is often with work or maybe general interest. So that is one of the reasons why I've never made a really big WhatsApp group, because then no one would be able to speak to each other because there'd just be too many people on there at the same time. And it is very time consuming. That is the one thing I really did realise.
Yes, Giovanni said this. So what about Facebook? Well, you have got a Facebook, of course.
Yes,
you do.
Of course I have.
You have got. Mr. Duncan does have a Facebook. So
I've had my Facebook for something like, how many years have I had Facebook now? A very, very long time.
So people can chat to each other on there, can they, Mr. Duncan? Or
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
I've got 15,000 people following me on Facebook. So yes, I do have Facebook, definitely.
So what's the? Do you want to remind people of your Facebook address?
I suppose I could, for what it's worth. Just a moment. I will put this up on the screen There we go. So there's my email address. So you can see it now. So if you want to get in touch by email, you can get in touch by email. And then Facebook. So there it is. For those wondering what my Facebook page is, there it is. And you might notice that the name of the page is in capital letters. Please remember capital letters, or else you will get another Mr. Duncan. It won't be me. So there is my Facebook page. And I suppose I should also mention the address for donations, because I do all of this for free. If you feel like sending a donation my way, you are more than welcome to do so, because I do everything here for free. So there it is again. I will show my email address and then my Facebook. There it is. And my PayPal for donations.
Hello, Marcia.
Oh, Marcia's here. Hello, Marcia. We were just showing your photograph, by the way. There it is. Sandra, Beatrice, Marcia and Claudia, they were meeting up during the week, having their secret rendezvous. I knew nothing about this, so I was very surprised, to say the least. Very surprised indeed.
Lovely meeting. I'd have loved to have flown over, but we were in Liverpool.
Yes.
We could have flown over. I wonder how long it would take for us to fly to Argentina. I would probably think about 8 hours.
8? I think you'll find it's about 13.
Is it?
13, maybe even 18 hours. Yes, it's further away than Malaysia. So I think it will be around 15, maybe even 20 hours. It could be. It's very long. It's quite a long way away. So I'm not sure if I would do that. You would have to put me under with some sort of anaesthetic and then put me onto the plane.
Yes, Pedro, I know Pedro tried to create a group, but I don't think it works with yes, Pedro did try to create a group many times. I think it is quite difficult, quite challenging. 15 hours, wow. 14 hours, that is a long time.
Yes. So it is around 15 hours flying from here to South America, definitely.
Maybe I'll just go on a boat. That'd probably take about a month.
I think it'll take longer than a month, Steve. That'll take about 7 or 8 weeks.
Yes. And, as we know, boats are being liners and whatever are being rerouted at the moment because of various problems. Maybe I won't. So we're talking about supermarkets today, are we, Mr. Duncan?
Supermarkets is one of the things. The reason why I thought about it, because here in Much Wenlock, we are quite lucky because we have 2 small local supermarkets. And I'm just wondering, because I know here in the UK, so first of all I will talk about what we have here in the UK. Here, of course, we have lots of situations where people can just go to the supermarket, or of course they can actually go online as well. They can actually just book their shopping to be delivered straight to the house. I had a lovely thing that I made this morning, and I forgot to load it into my computer for various reasons. Sometimes when I'm doing this, you see, I have to have my full attention on this, or else I start to make stupid mistakes. And there we go. So that's my first stupid mistake today. So there was a lovely caption that I made, but it's not there, unfortunately.
Actually, you can load it up now, Mr. Duncan.
I can't, unfortunately, Steve. I can't do that because it's too late. So, so just imagine there's something on the screen that says something nice.
What did it say? Maybe you can relay the message.
I don't know if I can actually load it into the computer, because if I do, everything will probably break. Let's see if I can find it.
You can do that while I carry on talking, Mr. Duncan. You mentioned the 2 supermarkets that we have in Much Wenlock. Now, there are 2. There's one called a NISA or a NISA, and there's another one which is... Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. What's the name of the other supermarket that we...
This is going very well.
Often go to, Mr. Duncan?
Spar.
The Spar, SPAR.
Spar shop.
And let's just say we fell out. Not with the Spar, go there.
When you say we, you mean you.
We had an altercation with
no,
the...
You had an altercation.
Well, we did.
Yeah. Anyway...
Let's just say we don't go to the NISA.
Okay, this is
because we had an incident.
Yeah.
Let's say we had an incident.
Good.
Where we were wrongly accused of something, and
well, that sounds worse, by the way.
Yeah.
never. You should never say we were wrongly accused of something, because people. Wait there, Steve. Let me just talk.
Okay.
People will think the wrong thing. Now, what they accused us of, because I think we should clarify, make clear what they accused us of, just in case they think the wrong thing. We weren't shoplifting, we weren't stealing, we weren't chatting up the sales assistants. What happened is they accused us of parking on their car park for too long, when in fact we had just been into the shop and bought a load of shopping.
Yes.
And Steve was very annoyed.
I know.
Actually.
They said, you've been here 2 hours. Somebody came out. Somebody was leaving, one of the owners. And
well, it was the owner's
car.
son. It
Pardon?
was the owner. Oh,
I wasn't going to go into specifics.
That's all right. Wait, I don't think that the owners of the NISA in Much Wenlock are actually watching.
Yeah, but there's still a record. But anyway, cut a long story short, we've boycotted the shop for 5 years.
Yes. Or you did.
Well, you've been occasionally, but only when you're desperate. I had not even set foot in it for 5 years. I mean, I was spending probably £500 a month, if not more, in there.
Okay, that's good.
Plus, I was spending money on customers, sandwiches and things. Anyway, so they've lost out to the tune of thousands and thousands of pounds of our business because of wrongly accusing us of something. But yeah, all the Spar, says Vitas, is a Dutch company. I didn't know that. Well, they're very good. We like the Spar.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Some of the people in there are a bit grumpy. There are one or two of the women, and sometimes they just look at you with a sort of a frown on
I didn't
their
know
face.
that was a Dutch company. I had no idea.
There are Spars all around the world, Spar supermarkets. They are actually dotted in many parts of the world as well. Very, very big company.
Well, they're very inexpensive. Their products are very competitively priced.
Are we? Sorry, are we being sponsored by them?
No, but I'm just saying. Carlos S. Hello, Carlos S.
Yeah.
Who gives us a big hello, did earlier. Says, I'm a big fan of Asda. But I do buy some products from Tesco. Well, Asda are owned by 2 brothers, and they're having quite a few problems at the moment. There's been a big falling out.
Asda?
Apparently.
Asda is owned by Walmart.
It used to be, but apparently it isn't anymore.
It isn't? Oh.
No, I think Walmart sold it.
Oh.
And it's now run by 2 brothers. I think they're from I'm not quite sure where they're from.
Oh, okay.
I think they might be Middle Eastern, as we would say here.
I didn't know.
Maybe from Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure. Somebody can look it up.
So the point is...
Yeah, I'm just saying that they're having problems at the moment. Well, in the UK they are, anyway. I don't know about... Well, no, yes, anyway they are.
Okay, just make your mind up.
I'm sure it was Asda that are owned by 2... Somebody can look it up and confirm.
Yes, because as far as I knew, they were part of the Walmart group, which
apparently they've still got the Walmart operating systems or something, which are causing them problems.
Oh.
But I think I'm right in saying that Asda is now owned by two brothers.
Two brothers, two human beings. Own
Yeah,
it.
please
That's good.
look it up. Who may be from Saudi Arabia or somewhere in that part of the world.
Yeah, that's good.
Although it'll probably turn out they're British born and bred.
Yes, well, that does sound like the sort of thing you'd do. Well, of course, supermarket shopping is a very strange thing because there are many places where you can buy goods and groceries. By the way, £500 is too much a month. I don't think we spend that much, do we, on groceries? £500.
Well, I was buying. Well, we were only spending maybe 200,
Okay.
and probably not that. I think most weekends we went in there. We spent £50 most weekends on food.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that their prices are double everywhere else probably doesn't help.
That wasn't the point I was making anyway.
But I would also go in there, and because if I'm seeing customers, most days, if it's lunchtime, I'll take them sandwiches. So I would be going in there most days buying maybe £30 worth of food or more for customers from lunchtime meetings. And so it added up to a lot of money.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's their loss. I've just realised that I haven't moved the live stream, the live chat for ages.
Good.
By the way, we could have gone on Concorde, of course, in 3 hours.
Sorry?
Across
to the supermarket? What? Sorry, Steve. What, are you just going to go from one subject to another without telling us? So you could fly by Concorde to the local Asda in 3 hours. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think it was to fly west, across to America,
South America.
South America. I don't know whether Concorde went. Did Concorde go to South America? I don't know.
No, it didn't. It only went to the United States.
Right.
Normally New York, 2 hours. Imagine that, getting on a plane and being in New York in just a couple of hours. Wow, amazing. They should bring back Concorde. They should bring it. They should get it and just give it a little clean, wipe it down with a damp rag, and then we can have supersonic travel again. Wouldn't that be lovely? The only problem is they kept bursting into flames. Of course, that's not good when you're flying.
Well, only once.
Oh, okay.
Did you have we seen a film called Saltburn?
Oh dear.
Everyone keeps asking about it.
Everyone is talking about this show, and I have to say that is the one thing that puts me off watching anything. When everyone's talking about a show on television, I normally don't watch it because normally I'm sick and tired of hearing it being talked about. So no, I haven't seen it. And to be honest, I probably never will because everyone keeps talking about it. Even the news keeps talking about it, and everyone. And normally that's it. Once it becomes overhyped, I actually lose interest. That's why I never went to see Avatar. Both of those movies, I never went to see them because everyone kept talking about them. You must go and see it. It's an amazing movie. No.
I don't know what it's about. I haven't heard of it. I haven't seen anything about it.
Let's just say it's about, I think there's a lot of naughty stuff going on, which of course is what you need to do nowadays to get people watching.
You mean naughty in terms of...
Well, just I think people can make up their own mind. You don't have to say what it is. Yes, naughty. You know, a lot of that. Because that's the only way you can get people to watch your things nowadays. It's a bit like YouTubers. They don't want to see ugly people like me. They want to see sexy people.
Like me. Palmyra says, have we got I think you mean Sainsbury's. Have we got a Sainsbury's in Much Wenlock? No, because it's too small to have a big supermarket. Although there is a Sainsbury's in Telford, not too far away, about 7 miles away.
Okay.
So which is a place that I often shop at.
Mm.
And we've got all the big supermarkets in Telford. Actually, there's one in Bridgnorth as well, which is
Bridgnorth, yes. I'm sure everyone knows where that is.
Yeah, which is not too far away. But yeah, there's a big supermarket not far away. But can't remember the name of it. I always have a block on the name of that supermarket in this town centre of Much Wenlock, Mr. Duncan.
What, the one we've just talked about?
The one we've just been talking about. I've completely forgotten
Spar.
about it. Spar shop. Yeah, I don't know what. I always have a block on remembering the name of that particular shop, but there we go. I've forgotten. I've lost my train of thought now, Mr. Duncan. There's if you want to be very posh, are we still talking about supermarkets, Mr. Duncan?
Well, it's still on the screen underneath us.
Oh, I can't. Oh, right. Okay, I can't see it. Right. Yes. So if you want to be very posh in the UK and impress all your friends and family, then you can say you shop at Waitrose.
Yes.
Waitrose.
And supermarket.
Waitrose.
Could you spell that as well?
Which is the food branch of a big super sort of. I can't remember the name. Today, Mr. Duncan, my brain is completely frozen. John Lewis. That's it. The John Lewis Group.
Okay, Steve, you got to just stop. Take a breath.
John Lewis, right?
I'm already thinking about abandoning this live stream.
They're like a department store, but they also have these.
Oh, Steve, wait, stop!
I'm just talking.
I'm just trying to tell the viewers something. It's okay.
Well, I was trying to tell them something.
There's lots of other things going on the internet. If you want to click away and watch something else, I don't blame you. You were saying, Steve?
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So they are the food company that are owned by John Lewis, and they started off just in London, and it's basically a very posh supermarket, and as Christina points out, Marks and Spencer's food is also expensive as well. M&S or Waitrose is probably regarded as the highest quality food you can buy.
When you say M&S, what do you mean?
Well, I just said Marks and Spencer's
That's
or
it.
M&S.
So often people just call it M&S.
They do.
Instead of, say, Marks and Spencer, even though there's virtually the same number of syllables. You're not actually shortening it.
Yeah, so that's
strange, isn't it? Anyway, the reason why I wanted to... We've completely lost the track of why I'm talking about this. You would imagine that supermarkets would all be doing great business. But here in the UK, there has been a bit of a crisis, hasn't there? With people choosing other ways to shop, and also a lot of it now being done on the internet. So a lot of people now can buy shopping on the internet. Even Amazon now do food, so you can actually get food delivered to your door on Amazon. That's crazy when you think about it.
You can. We can't because we don't live within a... I think they use Ocado, don't they, to deliver their food, Waitrose.
I thought it was a van. Oh, sorry.
I think so. So we're not in range of being able to order food off Amazon. If we were, I tell you, we'd never leave the house because I get practically everything else from Amazon.
It's interesting to note, by the way, that no one delivers to us here. None of those food companies like Deliveroo and Just Eat, they won't come here because we're too remote. So they always say all of those things. So we can't order food. We can't order fast food on the internet and have it delivered because they say they don't come here.
We can get some supermarkets to deliver here.
That's good.
And Christina has pointed out Aldi and Lidl. Now, of course, all the other supermarkets have been suffering in recent years because, of course, there's been a cost of living crisis for a number of years set off by the pandemic and various other factors.
Yes.
And so more and more people are now shopping at, let's just say, lower costing supermarkets like Lidl and Aldi, who I think, aren't they from the Netherlands? Aren't they Dutch companies? I think they are. Yes, that's interesting. I'm sure they are, Aldi and... or are they German? They might be German. They could be German. Maybe someone will tell us. Aldi and Lidl. And are they German-owned? I think they are. And So certainly the likes of Waitrose have been suffering. Actually, the only supermarket that's really suffering is in the UK at the moment is Waitrose. They've lost a lot of market share. Whereas I think Tesco has a bit, but mainly Waitrose has suffered, I do believe. But we don't have an M&S near us, but we do have a Tesco. Tesco have a lot of these smaller shops, supermarkets, very small, based in petrol stations. It's quite common to find those in petrol stations where you can just pick up essentials, much smaller sort of shops. But yes, we can get most things delivered here. But yeah, Aldi and Lidl are becoming more popular because people are trying to save money. When the price of oil went up and gas and everything else, then people obviously are trying to save on their budget, so are choosing different supermarkets.
Well, of course, high end. When we talk about high end, we are talking about things that are more expensive. So you might say that Waitrose, who is owned by John Lewis, another very high end retailer, they've been suffering the most because, of course, they are the most expensive. So I think it would be fair to say that those things that cater or aim their goods or services to people with more money, then they are normally the ones to suffer first of all. I think are they about to announce 11,000 redundancies? John Lewis and Waitrose, 11,000 people look like they're going to lose their job. That is not good.
They've struggled a bit because they pitched themselves. They made a few mistakes really, because Waitrose was a lovely shop to go to if you wanted to go supermarket shopping and you wanted to feel special. Then we would occasionally treat ourselves to going to Waitrose, because when you went in, it was like going into a boutique. It just felt very special. Yes, everything was more expensive, but you were getting a nicer overall experience. You never had to queue at tills, for example. There were always lots of staff there. You got a free cup of coffee, and then if there was anything went wrong, they'd instantly refund. The customer service was first class, and you felt almost it was worth paying extra for the food. But the mistake that they've made, or a lot of people, the mistake they've made is they've dropped all the services but kept the prices high. So if you go into a Waitrose store now, you mostly have to serve yourself on one of those self-service tills because they've cut down on all the staff, and so you don't feel it's any special. So you think, well, why would I go there and spend the extra money? I might as well just go to a normal supermarket. I think that's why they've suffered, because they've sort of lost. They've lost really the whole point of their existence, and they tried to introduce cheaper goods, and it's all sort of spiraled down from there. And they're always out of stock of things as well,
okay,
which is always very annoying.
I don't want to turn this into a criticising Waitrose, because then we're giving it away, you see, that we sometimes use them. And we're not wealthy, trust me. Please send your donations, please. I know it seems odd that we're talking about shopping at Waitrose when I'm asking for donations. It doesn't seem right.
Yeah, they used it was quite. So isn't it annoying when you go to a supermarket? There's two things that annoy me about supermarkets. One is you go in and they've rearranged everything.
Okay.
On the shelves, so you can you don't know where the milk is anymore, or your pasta's moved somewhere else, and you have to keep asking where is it, particularly because everyone's in a rush, aren't they? And the other thing is that if they're out of stock of something, or they get rid of something that you like, and unfortunately Waitrose did a lot of that. There were certain items that you could only get from them, which we liked. And then they stopped stocking them, and then other supermarkets had them instead. So this is the trouble, isn't it? I tend to get a bit funny like that. If somebody stops stocking something, I'll go somewhere else for it. But then, of course, when you go, this is what happens. If something you like in a supermarket and then they stop stocking it, you then go to another supermarket. But when you're there, you then buy all the other things that you would have got from the other one. So they actually miss out massively, because in the end, you just give up and you think, well, I might as well just go to Tesco. Okay, it might not be quite so upmarket feeling when I go in, but at least I'll get everything I want. And then you suddenly discover that you're paying hundreds less. So you end up not going back to that nice posh supermarket. You end up sticking to the one that was cheaper. So yes, anyway, that's my little rant.
It was everything.
It was everything, yes.
That was a
It's giving you a break,
declaration,
Mr. Duncan.
That was like the Unabomber's manifesto. English Addict is with you, by the way, today, and we are looking at lots of things besides supermarkets. But I thought it was interesting because we were in the supermarket yesterday. Isn't that amazing? Let's just hope next week my subject will be slightly more scintillating. We do have the big five, though, don't we? We have Tesco, Sainsbury's. I'm trying to think what the other ones are. Aldi.
Lidl.
Asda,
Tesco, Sainsbury's.
That's it. I just said that. Tesco, Sainsbury's, Aldi, Lidl. And I think maybe Waitrose.
Co-op.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Co-op is one of the big five. But certainly Waitrose is in there, I think. But it is interesting how supermarket sales have changed due to social changes, such as people not having as much money as they used to. I think so.
Co-op, that's interesting. We've always had a co-op in the UK, but it was always seen as a very expensive place to shop. I think it still is. You think a co-op would be, on the same level as sort of Tesco's or something, but it's very expensive. And I remember when I was growing up, we had a co-op in the town where I grew up, and my mother would only ever go there if she was desperate for something she couldn't get somewhere else, because it was always just very expensive. I think they are still a bit, but they are a cooperative, aren't they?
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what that is, but they are a bit different to all the other supermarkets. I think they're owned by they're owned in a different way.
Well, I think originally it was literally a cooperative, but of course part of the company moved into banking as well, and they were involved in quite a few scandals, one or two scandals, cooperative banking. But yes, it's interesting though. I think it's a mundane thing. I have to be honest. I don't like going supermarket shopping, which is why we very rarely do it nowadays. We normally order our groceries online.
Yes.
Last week we were in Liverpool, and I can't resist showing you this again. Some of the sights and some of the music that sounds very familiar, very similar to the music that you may have heard during the 1960s, and then more of this. amusing to think all of that was filmed on my little mobile phone, and that is the reason why I love technology so much. Isn't it amazing? You can just take your phone out of your pocket and you can film like that. Amazing. It is English Addict on a Sunday afternoon where anything can happen, and quite often it does. There's myself, and of course we are joined by Mr. Steve. There he is, looking cool and relaxed in his little corner.
If only you'd seen me before the start of the live stream. But we won't go into that. Who is Sinner? He's won the Australian Open, says Francesca.
Oh, I see.
I'm guessing he's a tennis player. I might be wrong. He deserved it, says Rosa, so he must be... is he Italian? More information, please, because we're ignorant when it comes to sports.
Well, I don't follow tennis. I don't follow tennis at all. I know that the Open was on, but I to be honest with you, I don't really follow tennis or, to be honest, any sport, if I was bluntly honest with you. Yes, we did have a good time in Liverpool, even though the weather was crazy. Christina says, I went to visit the Cavern. There is an interesting story about the Cavern Club, because originally it was built underground, and then Liverpool Council decided they wanted to build a huge tunnel underneath. It was never built, it was never completed, but they had to close the Cavern Club down and then fill everything in. And then years later they excavated it, and everything has been swapped around. So the entrance that was the entrance is now the exit. It's where you come out if there's a fire. And there is a new entrance further down the road, which you saw in the video. But I did notice that there seemed to be a lot of pubs, maybe too many pubs and restaurants, all with names referring to the Beatles. I also noticed that there was no one there. It was almost empty. So you may have noticed in the video that there weren't many people actually walking around. But I'm sure it's lovely when the weather is nice. Unfortunately, we decided to go to Liverpool when the weather was awful. It was so wet and windy. I can't tell you how bad it was. In fact, I'm surprised that I managed to film anything, to be honest, because it was so bad.
One highlight for me was an Italian restaurant that we went to. Now I can't remember its full name. It was something Blue. An Italian restaurant in Liverpool. It was, I would, without any doubt, would say it was the best Italian restaurant I've ever been to. I'm giving them a plug, even though I can't remember their name. Something Blue, maybe somebody can look it up. Italian restaurant in Liverpool. It was spectacular. The food was absolutely gorgeous. They were all laughing at me, my work colleagues, because I had as my main course lasagna, which is, I would say, the most obvious choice that you could have for an Italian meal for a British person. You think of the average British person, and if you mention Italian food, they will say lasagna, and so there were all sorts of things on that menu, loads of different things. I could have ordered Italian food. I ordered lasagna. They were all laughing at me, and yet when that lasagna arrived, they were all jealous, Mr. Duncan, because it was the most gorgeous homemade lasagna I've ever tasted in my life. And I would drive all the way back there just to go to that restaurant again. If only I could remember the name of it. I know where it is. It was very near to a particular bar. Mr. Duncan, I'm boring Mr. Duncan.
It's not. It's just that the details are so random and sketchy.
But anyway, it was a lovely Italian restaurant. So
So the amazing Italian restaurant that Steve can't remember the name of, but it's an amazing place, the best restaurant Mr. Steve has ever been to, and we don't know what it's called.
Something blue.
Okay, yes.
Oh, was it Reeve Blue? I think it was, Giovanni.
Oh, Reeve Blue.
I think it was.
I didn't go, by the way, because this was for Mr. Steve's work colleagues, not for mere paupers like me.
Very, very, very clever of you to find out the name of that. It was Reeve or Rive Blue. Anyway, it was spectacular, I would say. Probably
Good.
One of the nicest meals I've ever had out. Starter, main, everything was just gorgeous.
Okay. I think we've given enough promotions now to all of these businesses.
Yes.
We don't get a penny for any of this. So maybe next time we contact the businesses first and then ask them if we can talk about their business, and then they can pay us for mentioning it. But no more free promotions, please, for businesses.
Yes, it was Giovanni. And we've got an Italian theme today, haven't we? Because Francesca has answered our question that it was the first Italian player to win for 48 years.
Okay.
So congratulations. Maybe he had lasagna from Reeve Blue restaurant. Maybe you've got that chain in Italy. But anyway, it must have given him lots of energy. Yes, lovely. That was it. We're going back there again, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
I'll go there for my birthday. That's what I want to go for my birthday.
Good. I did mention earlier that I don't like February, and the reason why I don't like February is because it's a short month. The weather's normally horrible, but of course it is Mr. Steve's birthday next.
Thanks.
I haven't finished the sentence, but there you go.
No, but you started the sentence by saying I don't like February, and then you added in it's Mr. Steve's birthday.
Yes, because I forgot that is also included, but that's not the bad thing. So the bad thing for me is always the weather. It's always gloomy during February. I don't like January, to be honest. I shall be so glad when this month is finished. And then, of course, we can move into the spring season. I can't wait for springtime to arrive, if I was honest with you.
Why is Giovanni apologising? I don't know. Maybe I missed something.
Steve, you definitely missed something.
Yes, that's true. I'm feeling hungry now. I want lasagna.
Well, you can always go and get something from the kitchen. Don't let me keep you or hold you back. It all. In a moment, we're talking about something very serious, by the way. Something very serious. Apparently here in the UK, politicians and members of the general public have been debating whether or not to bring back...
Hanging?
to bring back capital punishment.
Oh!
Yes. They've been talking about it as a way of putting people off committing horrible crimes. All of that coming in a few moments. Be sentenced, a capital sentence, as they say. And that doesn't mean that all of the letters are in capital letters. So it's not that kind of capital. So yes, we've been debating this, not Mr. Steve and myself. We haven't been debating it, but generally people have been talking about whether or not to make certain punishments stricter. In the UK, some people
That's fairly strict.
Oh, okay.
Carry on. Go on, Mr. Duncan.
In the UK, some people want to bring back capital punishment. They want to bring it back. When we talk about capital punishment, of course, we talk about the death sentence. So if a person commits a certain type of crime, serious crime, they will be executed. Ooh. Now, we used to do this until the late 1960s, believe it or not. Yes, it's true, I'm not joking. So we did actually have capital punishment here in the UK. I think it was until, was it the late 60s or late 50s, Steve? I think it was the late 1950s.
I've got a feeling people were still being hung. That's how we do it in the UK. In the 1960s, I'm sure they were, Mr. Duncan.
Because I thought it was about 67.
Yes, I think you're probably right.
But at that point, I think they were only giving that sort of sentence to people who had committed terrible, terrible acts of, well, crime, basically. Very, very serious things. But we are thinking of it. It is amazing how many countries still have it in place. And did you know, Steve, that the Isle of Man, I think the Isle of Man was one of the last places in Britain or around this area to actually get rid and abolish capital punishment. I think it was I'm sure it was in the mid-1980s. They actually still had capital punishment in the Isle of Man.
But did they actually execute anybody?
I don't think they did.
No, but they still had it there as a deterrent.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons. That's a good word, by the way, Steve.
It is. That's why I thought I'd use it. Yes, it's a deterrent. You're trying to deter or put off somebody from committing a crime because you could possibly lose your life if you did so.
Yes, it is the ultimate punishment when you think about it. But it is amazing how many countries around the world right now still have capital punishment. And this is one of the things that has been debated for many years. We've seen this happen before, haven't we, Steve, where people debate these subjects.
Every 10 years.
So about every 10 years, these things always come round again. So once more, we are all talking about it. So certain MPs or members of Parliament want to actually bring in some sort of referendum where people can decide if we bring it back. I don't think it's ever going to happen because I think it is a big step backwards. Because what if, and this is the big one, Steve, what if you get the wrong person? And it has happened. We have had many instances in the past where people have gone to prison for crimes that they did not commit. And later they were pardoned. But unfortunately, with capital punishment, you can't really reverse the sentence because then you've already ended that person's life. So I think it is a very, I would say, controversial subject for many people, but it does come around now and again.
Yes.
So I wonder if anyone is watching in a country where they have it still. So do you live in a country where they still have capital punishment? That means if you commit a serious crime, then anybody?
Fernando says the last execution in the UK was 1965.
Oh, I see.
Of course, yes, please tell us if you still have capital punishment in your country. We know, of course, that America does. Many states in America, in the United States, and in fact, this week they executed somebody trying to buy trying out a new method.
Okay.
Because
what did they do? Did they tickle him?
Tickled him to death? No. I mean, bearing in mind this particular person has been on what they call death row, which is the place you go when you've been sentenced to be executed, and you wait there. And he's been there since about 1995 or something.
Yes.
So it's 20 odd years before it's got to the point where he's appealed and whatever. And the common way over there in America is lethal injection. They used to use electrocution, didn't they? But they used lethal injection. But they tried it on this person and it didn't work. So they decided to try suffocating him with nitrogen gas.
Okay.
And it was pretty horrendous by all accounts.
Okay. I don't think... Is there a nice way of doing it, though? I mean, I can't think of any sort of execution which would be nice.
Well, I think lethal injection is quite...
Is it nice?
Humane, yes.
Oh, is it lovely? Okay.
I think, I mean, you wouldn't want it, obviously, but I don't think you suffer when given a lethal injection of whatever it is. But, I've always... I mean, in the UK, we always used to use hanging, which I think is a bit like the guillotine in France. It's a very sort of dramatic way of being killed, isn't it?
Well, it's dramatic, but also quite quick. I think actually the guillotine is the best one because it's pretty quick.
There's no doubt that is going to kill you. Whereas hanging, sometimes you don't always die straight away.
You sort of thrashing around for quite a while.
It's funny, we're talking about execution. Everyone else on the live chat's talking about tennis.
Well, some people might say that they are similar things.
We want to know if you've still got capital punishment in your country, and if so, what is the preferred method? In Italy, says Saturino, it was shooting.
Oh, yes.
I think that's quite quick. I think that's fairly quick.
Yes.
I think I'd go for lethal injection if I had a choice.
Okay.
Hopefully I will never have to face that.
No, unless you're thinking of committing any serious crime, Steve, which I of course do not condone in any way whatsoever.
In France, it was 1978.
Yes, it was the 1970s before they got rid of it. But of course, it's fair to mention that they didn't do it very often. So the law was still in place, but they weren't really carrying out many of the executions with Madame Guillotine. Did
they still use the guillotine in the 1970s? So when was the last time anyone was executed for a crime in France? When was the actual... I mean, it might have been stopped in 1978, but when was the last time somebody can Google this, when was the last time someone was actually executed for a crime? And if so, what was the method? Did they still use the guillotine? I'm guessing they didn't. They might have done. I don't know, which is why I'm asking. Francesca doesn't agree with capital punishment. Yes, it's one of those things that tend to polarize opinions.
Yes.
Some people say of course it is a big risk, as you've pointed out, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
Because if you could only ever do it now, I think, for absolutely, you've rock solid evidence.
Yes. You'd have to have literally a video of that person committing the actual crime with 6 people who were there. And everyone was there in the same room, and everything was all done in the same place, and there were at least 3 cameras filming that thing at the same time. And even then, it might not be real, because nowadays, of course, we have AI, which can create anything. So it's quite disturbing when you think about it. You could create a crime being committed to actually set another person up, so they end up going to prison, or even worse. So
See, I'm not
I suppose that's one of the worrying things about AI.
The other thing is, if someone is executed, so if you committed a capital crime, you murdered somebody, or robbed a bank with a gun, and those sort of really serious crimes. If you are executed, yes, but I would want that person to suffer. If somebody had, say, murdered somebody I loved, I would want them to. I'm not sure I would want them to be executed, because I'd want them to. That's not really suffering, is it? Because once you're dead, you're dead. You're not suffering then.
Yes.
I would want them to suffer in some way. I would like to be able to choose what would happen to them, which would be living in the most extreme, horrible conditions, I think, for years. But then you see, prison is not exactly. You haven't got your freedom, but you know that people think that prisons are a bit soft these days.
So maybe you could go to one of the Russian gulags.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Send them to Russia.
That is one thing I would say, Steve. In Russia, you do not, in any way, you don't want to go to prison in Russia, because they will send you to the bleakest parts of Siberia, and you will not escape, because even if you do escape, you will not survive for very long. China, of course. China, I think it's very high up there with the number of people they execute every year. It's thousands and thousands of people are executed every year in China. Not that they ever admit to it, but there are large camps where public, or well, when I say public, I mean outdoor executions take place. They often use firing squads, or these days they often use the lethal injection. My friend Jiang Wei went to an execution. He actually saw it take place.
Really?
A prisoner who had murdered someone, and Jiang Wei was invited along to sit and watch this guy get
invited.
Invited, yes.
Like going to watch a film.
It's a pretty little envelope. They send you an envelope. It comes with a dove, and it lands by your window, and they say you are invited to an execution. So that's what he did. He watched this guy get executed by lethal injection, and he said it was very strange seeing someone's life being taken away right in front of you. Very, very unusual.
I don't think I'd like to see that.
And of course, it is execution for carrying a gun in China, not using a gun, carrying a gun in any way. You are for the chop.
Well, it doesn't seem that capital punishment is acting as a deterrent in China if they are executing thousands of people every year.
But that's because many of the people haven't done anything wrong. They are political dissidents and people who disagree with local authorities, or maybe someone who has been hounded out, and maybe they have turned on their local leaders, you see.
Be careful what we say here, Mr. Duncan.
Well, I don't have to be careful. Why? Why, Steve?
Well, I don't know.
No.
Well, I'm just saying, Santorino, that stoning. Yeah, well, stoning. Well, yeah, wasn't that stoning was very popular, sort of, in ancient times. Certainly, there's a lot of writings around the times of Jesus in the Bible about stonings. They used to stone people to death then. I used to think when I was younger, well, how can you die from people throwing stones at you? Because you think of a stone as being like that, but of course I think they mean sort of rocks, really, not little stones.
I don't think they're little pebbles.
No,
because that would do nothing. They would just bounce off your head.
But I used to think when I was young, how can you die from people throwing stones at you?
Yes, you just said that.
I know. I'm just repeating it. But they must be quite big stones, rocks.
They're big stones.
In fact, and a lot of them.
Yes, you're also forgetting the other thing is that the person is normally buried.
Of course, in ancient times, death was commonplace. Death was everywhere. People were being killed all the time.
Yes, you don't see so much death anymore. It's almost gone out of fashion.
Well, you don't see it in the same way. People didn't live anywhere near as long as they do now. 2,000 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago, people didn't live much beyond sort of 35, 40. If you were lucky, and death was always round the corner. From all sorts of things, natural causes, people being people murdering you, wars. There was disease.
Sorry, aren't all these things around now?
No, but Mr. Duncan, there's a lot more of it. People thousands, millions died of disease, and animals leaping out and ripping you to shreds.
Animals.
Yeah, that's it. Bears and tigers, and
dinosaurs.
Yeah, death was commonplace. People accepted it as, you could go. I mean, we've often discussed this. I mean, we've lost our parents and lost a few friends recently. But normally, touch wood, you don't really. It's not a daily occurrence, is it? That all the people you work with.
There'll be nobody left.
Not many people die that it's not that many. Whereas, a few hundred years ago or 1,000 years ago, you'd probably know somebody for a couple of weeks and then they died. Oh, such and such has died. Oh, yeah. There'd be somebody new every day because of disease.
Okay, Steve.
And things like that. But yeah, we're not hardened to death in the same way that our ancestors would have been.
No.
I mean, childhood deaths, even going back to the 1950s, before vaccines, children were dying all over the place from measles and diseases like that, and thousands of people in iron lungs to help them breathe, with polio. Death is nowhere near as common as it was to our ancestors.
Yes.
And on that happy subject, we've got 10 minutes to go.
Thank you. Well, we've got longer than that because if you remember, we didn't start till 20 past.
Damn!
Yeah, damn. Oh, okay. Well, you can go if you want. Don't let me keep you. Anyway, that has nothing to do whatsoever with capital punishment. All of the things Steve's just talked about for the last 5 minutes, nothing to do with it. But I don't think it's ever going to happen anyway, because I suppose we like to think of ourselves as civilized, even though you don't have to look very far to see that human beings are often quite uncivilized when you think about it.
I'll tell you what would be a good deterrent to crime, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, Mr. Steve.
Is if you committed any crime, but particularly a serious crime, then somebody in your close family has to take the punishment.
Okay.
How about that? Would that deter you from committing a crime?
Yeah.
If, for example, if you murdered somebody, then if you had a wife or a husband or children, then one of their lives had to be taken in return. Would that deter you from committing a crime?
What kind of society would that be?
I know, but I think it would work, wouldn't it? I mean, if you knew that one of your children...
It wouldn't work. Do you know why?
I think it would help.
Because people would weaponize it. They would use it as a weapon if you wanted to get rid of someone. So I think that would definitely be misused in a similar way that it is misused in China.
Well, put it this way: that's how I would meter out my judgment.
Yeah, we've got it, Steve. you just told us. There's no need to tell us again, because that was quite harrowing for me. To be honest,
what was harrowing for you? Christina's got COVID, I think. Well, we hope you recover soon. It's everywhere at the moment. I know lots of people that have got COVID.
You're not giving it to them, are you?
No, I'm not. No,
you're not a super spreader. Although in my day that used to mean something completely different.
Yes, Lewis points out that in Paris in the Middle Ages, capital punishment took place on Sundays, and crowds attended, like we would go to football matches.
Well, we used to hear.
We did here. We used to burn witches.
No, Steve. A bit later than that, we used to hang people outside in Stafford. Stafford Prison, the old jail. Outside the front doors, there was a gallows, and they would hang people, and the public would come, and they would watch someone being hung for entertainment, almost as if you were going to the circus or something. And there'd be people there selling toffee apples and candy floss and cold drinks, and you'd be there. Maybe you could take a little chair and sit down, and then wait for the big event to take place. So it's true in Stafford Prison. I think 1800s they were always executing people outside the door. Yeah. You can actually see the place where the gallows was. Lovely. Very sobering. We do make mistakes. Yes, you are right, Marcia. Time passes and we make the same mistakes if we do not improve in relation to our feelings and spirituality. Oh, very deep, I have to say. Anyway, I think we've used that one quite a lot today, that particular subject. It's gone straight to the bone. We will be going in a few moments, but I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. We haven't done everything today because it's a little shorter. I was a little late, for which I apologise so much. It is regrettable that I was late, but circumstances beyond my understanding took place. Let's just say.
An exciting topic, says Tom.
Oh, I see.
So maybe we can carry on for 10 minutes talking about various ways to execute people.
Well, I think we know most of them. I think there aren't that many when you think about it. I suppose you could come up with some interesting ways of doing it. There was one I remember. I think it was during not the First World War, but maybe longer, much further back than that. People who tried to desert. They tried to desert whilst a battle was taking place. You know how they wouldn't arrest them, they would execute them. And what they used to do is tie them to the front of a cannon. They would bind their arms and legs, and their body would be covering the hole at the front of the cannon, and then they would launch a cannonball. And that was how
that'll do the trick.
Very creative, and also a little bit messy as well, if you don't mind me saying. It sounds like an awful thing to clean up afterwards, but yes. And of course, medieval times, they used to hang someone, then they would draw them, they would cut them open, and then they would separate their body with horses, get them to run in different directions. Nowadays, we don't do any of that, fortunately, and I'm very pleased to hear it.
I'm sure that gangs and in certain countries, meter out their own form of justice in ways that the authorities know nothing about. Particularly if you're in drug gangs and things like that, and there's all sorts of wars going on between different gangs in other countries, and of course they'll murder each other all the time, won't they?
They will.
Unfortunately. Yes, it's very cheering, says Valentin.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom, for appreciating my shirt. Yes, I've had this for years. There's a story behind this shirt.
Is it a short story?
I can make it short.
I don't trust you.
So I was in a choir many years ago, and they had a gala evening, a special evening when we all went to celebrate at the end of the year, and I got the dress code wrong. So I thought it was smart casual. Smart casual is this, a shirt with a smart pair of trousers. But I misinterpreted or got it wrong. In fact, it was black tie, which is black tie means a bow tie
But
and
smart.
a dinner suit.
It means dinner suit and smart.
Dinner suit, which is totally different to smart casual. So I was the only one that turned up just wearing this, and I wore this shirt because I bought this shirt thinking this will impress people. No, it didn't, because I should have worn a dinner jacket and a bow tie. And for the entire evening, I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me, because I kept all night, people were looking at me. And I said, "What on earth are you wearing? What? How disgraceful!"
I think a lot of people were doing that today.
So I've never quite got over that. If you don't get over something, it means you never recover from the effects of the embarrassment or whatever happened at the time. I've never got over that. So you can't mentally accept it and move on. I'm very bad at that.
Yes. I hadn't noticed.
Oh, Tom says, is euthanasia allowed in the UK?
Now this is a big subject.
And
so
controversial.
This might be similar to capital punishment because, well, can I just go
on?
I haven't finished the sentence yet, Steve. In the fact that someone ends up no longer alive, but very different circumstances. Maybe a person who is ill, or if they have a terminal illness, which means the illness will eventually kill them, or maybe they will just be unable to move. There will be some sort of suffering. A person can decide to end their own life. Here in the UK, it is still illegal. You cannot help a person to take their own life. Of course, you can do it anyway, but if you help someone to do it, then you will be, you'll be imprisoned basically, and it is still illegal. Of course, you can go to places like Switzerland, where they have these lovely little machines you can step into, and I don't know what they do, but you can just have these. It just eases you away. But I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. I think if I was really suffering to the point where maybe everything was hanging off and I was in lots of pain, maybe I would want to have my suffering ended in some way.
If you had a terminal illness, some motor neurone disease or something like that. But of course, even with that, you don't know how long you're going to live. It depends what, it's a controversial subject because the only people really qualified to do it would be doctors, and they have signed the Hippocratic oath to say that they would always try, and basically they've always got to keep you alive. So that a doctor can't do it in this country because of things that they've signed.
Yes.
And of course it's controversial because you don't actually know if somebody isn't murdering somebody, and you would feel uncomfortable when maybe a relation is trying to get rid of you for the inheritance, and maybe you don't know what's going on because you've lost your mind, and maybe they're trying to get rid of you. I think those cases are few and far between.
I think what you're trying to say is that could be abused.
It could be abused, exactly, Mr. Duncan. So this is why we've never... I think it's coming closer and closer in the UK. But right now, if you want to end your own life, you go to Switzerland.
So if Auntie Margaret, who is a millionaire, is feeling a little bit rough, she's, oh, I don't feel very well. You could say, oh, well, let me just help you here with this pillow, and then the next day the police come and they investigate, and they said, oh, well, she said she wanted to do it. She said she wanted to do it, but she didn't. She didn't want to do it. So it can be abused in some way. So I think that's one of the main reasons why we've never allowed that in this country. So it is still illegal. You can't do it, even if the person asks you to do it, even if they ask you nicely and say, please please put me out of my misery. You still can't do it.
Mind you, if I went to Switzerland, I'd try some chocolate first. I wonder if you could euthanize yourself. I'm not sure what the word would be for that. By just eating lots of chocolate.
I think you can anyway.
Because as we know, Switzerland makes the nicest chocolate. Well, Belgium probably would disagree. But yes, I'm being a bit trivial here, but I think I'd like a lot of chocolate. That would be my last meal, I think, some Lindt chocolate.
Maybe they could put you in a big container and just pour the chocolate in, and you just drown in chocolate.
Drown in chocolate, yes. Not sure I'd like that.
No, it doesn't.
Rosa says I'm elegant, but I'm in the wrong clothing. Tom doesn't agree with you. No, this is a Marmite shirt, isn't it? You either like it or you don't like it. You either love or hate this shirt.
Okay.
Maybe next week I'll wear a dinner jacket.
We believe you, Mr. Steve. We believe you. So, we are going in a moment, and we will see you next Sunday, perhaps. And I will be back with you on Wednesday. Wednesday, by the way, is the last day of January. Oh, this has been one of those days, I have to say. One of those days. I'm looking forward to being asleep today, I have to say. Unconsciousness beckons.
Do you want a cup of tea, Mr. Duncan? I can go make one after the live stream.
Cup of tea and some Valium would be lovely, Mr. Steve. Thank you very much. And we will see you next weekend, hopefully. Of course, these days, a week is a very long time on planet Earth. It really is. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. And of course, until the next time we meet here, you know what's coming next, don't you, Mr. Steve?
I do, sadly.
You know what's coming next. We both know what's coming next. Have a good week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And of course, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Ta-ta
for now.
That was awful, wasn't it?
Should we do it again?
1, 2, 3.
Ta-ta for now.
That was much better, Mr. Steve. Well done. Yes.